Hi, welcome to video 1 of what you need to know about rebuilding when your relationship ends. I'm Dr. Karen Finn. I'm a writer, I'm a divorce coach, and I'm the founder of The Functional Divorce. I founded The Functional Divorce in 2007, about 5 years after the end of my own 18-year marriage. And I did this because of the struggles that I went through. I completely changed the trajectory of my career, and I thought to myself, if I can do something that helps people navigate the chaos and confusion of divorce and helps them decrease the time that they're going through their divorce recovery journey, I know I'll have done something wonderful. I've created the functional divorce process with that goal in mind. And I truly believe that one of the most powerful things that you can have is knowledge of the divorce recovery journey. And that way you will be able to recover much more quickly than you ever could on your own from your divorce. So, as I mentioned, this is video 1. And in this video, I'm going to share with you an overview of the divorce recovery process, the 3 different phases of the divorce recovery process, and I'm going to talk to you about the first phase. In the second video, I'm going to focus in on the middle phase of the divorce recovery process. It's probably the most painful part, and I kind of tend to call it the divorce pits. And in the third video, I'm going to focus on the landmarks in your journey that you need to look for to know that you're coming towards the end of it. And then I'll share with you some next steps to help you make sure you stay on the correct path for you to recover from your divorce as quickly as possible. So, I've heard people describe divorce in all kinds of different ways. Probably the most graphic way is you and your ex lawyer up and you decide how to slice and remove from each other the key things that made up your relationship. Now, that sounds incredibly painful, doesn't it? And the truth is, divorce is painful. Now, if you were to ask me what I thought of my divorce recovery journey, I'd say I felt like I'd been blindfolded, tied up, and stuffed into the front seat of a runaway roller coaster. I never knew when I was going to be jerked to the left or to the right, and I dreaded any slow upward movement in my emotions because I knew at any second I was going to be plunged down to depths I couldn't imagine, thrown into a loop-de-loop or even a corkscrew. My equilibrium was completely shot and I didn't feel anything at all like myself. It seemed like I was struggling vainly to get off of the terrifying ride. Does any of that sound familiar to you? Well, what I discovered was that there really is a beginning, a middle, and an end to the divorce recovery journey. It's not an endless roller coaster ride. And I know it sounds simple to describe it like that, but it helps, right, to make things as simple as possible to make sure that they're understood. So although I can say that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to the divorce recovery journey, what I can't say is that there's a clear separation between any of them. You see, divorce recovery is a complex process. Right? It's totally worth it, but it is kind of complex. So because the boundaries are kind of fuzzy between these 3 different phases, you can be on more than one phase at once. So to kind of illustrate this a little bit more, I'd like to draw a picture for you. So this line right here is going to represent time. This line right here is going to represent your emotions. Now, anything up here would be a positive emotion, right? It feels good. Anything down here is going to be a not so good feeling emotion. So let me go ahead and draw this picture so that you can get an idea of what the divorce recovery journey is like. Okay, now, I hope you can see this okay, but in the beginning phase right here, right, your emotions are all over the place. You can't really tell if you're going to be up or you're going to be down. You're going to be sideways, right? And there's forward and backward motion, it feels like, in the flow of things, right? It's very chaotic, very confusing. And then over time, as you can progress along your divorce recovery journey, things kind of calm down a little bit. right? And then something happens and you could be thrown into a little bit of the divorce turmoil again. And then things calm down, you can be thrown back in, they calm down, you can be thrown back in, and then things kind of even out, right? And you start to do a whole lot better, and that's how you know you're through the journey. Now, you may be kind of surprised to see these little blips here, right, where there's more turmoil showing up again. But I can tell you the real because it happened to me, right? It experienced it for, you know, a few years after my divorce, in all honesty. You know, something would set me off and I'd feel the same turmoil that I felt in kind of the thick of the divorce recovery journey for me. But it was much shorter, right? It didn't last for anywhere near as long. And I was able to regain my footing and feel more like me again much more quickly. Now, this really is a fairly good representation of my divorce recovery journey. And, you know, you may look at it and you say, well, it just takes time. It just takes time to recover from divorce. And I think that's complete hogwash. There's no way that that's true. Because we all know of someone who's never really gotten over their divorce. They've remained bitter for the rest of their life, don't we? I think that it takes three things in order to successfully navigate the divorce recovery journey. The first thing is choosing to. Choose to move on with your life. It's important. The second one is to ask for help. You've never been through this before, right? You don't know what to expect, so ask for help, right? Get the free resources. Get the information you need to know to be able to do the third thing, which is rediscover you, the real you. Not the person you became within the marriage that didn't work, right? But the real you. And then create a life for yourself that's amazing and fulfilling again, right? That's what's required to successfully navigate the divorce recovery journey. So, there are three different phases to the divorce recovery journey, as I've already mentioned: the beginning, the middle, and the end. And we're going to focus on this beginning phase today, right, in this video. And believe it or not, there are three landmarks to be on the lookout for here too. Now, the first two landmarks, they get kind of a bad rap, so, you know, don't worry about it, because we'll talk through it. But they're also kind of the toughest and can tend to overwhelm people. So what I want you to know before I start telling you more about it is that it's okay to go through this. It's normal, right? And you need to go through it in order to get to the other side. Okay, so the first landmark is denial. Denial, believe it or not, is actually helpful. It allows us to not feel too much pain all at once, right? But too much denial, that can make us think that there's nothing to recover from, nothing to heal from, right? And it can often be experienced as a shutdown of the emotions. And yeah, I know this firsthand experience because it happened to me. Towards the end of my marriage, I became very stoic. And it got even worse when we decided to separate and divorce. I shut down almost all of my emotions. Anybody asked me anything, my normal response was, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Of course everything's fine. And it was obvious to the people that were asking me that things weren't fine. It finally became obvious to me too, because what I discovered was that I had to feel in order to know what needed healing, right? So that was a big deal for me, denial, this first landmark on the journey, in the beginning of the divorce recovery journey. So, the second landmark to be on the lookout for is fear. Yes, and I know no one wants to be afraid, but divorce, you know, it can be a pretty terrifying experience. It's scary. It's normal to feel fear in a scary situation. And the thing is to use the fear to propel you forward and not to get stuck in it. Unfortunately, I got stuck in it. My fears got out of control for a while. My typical fears wound up to be something along the lines of, I'm never going to be able to take care of myself. If I can't take care of myself and pay my bills, I'm going to wind up on the street. And if I wind up on the street, then obviously I'm going to die a horrible, miserable death alone, right? Now, looking back at that, right, I can see now that that was pretty irrational. But I tell you what, when I was going through it, it was very, very real. I was really scared, okay? But I found out that it's normal to feel some fear. It just doesn't have to be out of control. I didn't know what to expect. You do. Okay, so for the third landmark to be on the lookout for, it's adaptation, right? I'm sure you've heard of everybody adapts to their environment, right? Well, believe it or not, you adapted to your marriage to make it work as well as it did, even though, it didn't go the distance, right? I adapted to my marriage to make it work as well as it did, even though it didn't go the distance. That's what happens, right? But the thing is, now that you're on this journey of ending that relationship and moving on with your life, you start to see things. You start to see what you did in order to make the marriage work, right? Some things are helpful, some things not so much. And it's by becoming aware and then choosing which of these adaptations to continue using in your life and your relationships, right? That all kinds of your relationships can improve, not just the romantic ones. So these are the 3 landmarks to be on the lookout for in this first beginning phase of the divorce recovery journey: denial, fear, and adaptation. Do you see yourself in any of these? I'll bet that you do, or you may recognize that you were in some of them. The thing is that even if you do recognize yourself in one or more of these, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're only in the beginning phase of your divorce recovery journey. You may also have some of the stuff going on from the divorce pits in the middle part of the journey, which I'll talk more about in the second video.